everyone, it's Suzanne from Twinkle Designs, and today I'm going to show you a really cool technique to paint with tissue paper to create some really good backgrounds for your cards. So I've gone ahead and I've got some cheap tissue paper, and I'm just going to cut that into strips of about 2 centimetres and 1.5 centimetres on a paper trimmer. Now you can rip your pieces of tissue if you want to create a different effect, but I kind of like mine half neat, half rough. So once I've done that, I've just got some watercolour card that's just cut down using a rectangle die to about a 5x7 card blank. And I'm tearing the strips up so they're just a little bit longer than the piece of watercolour card that I've cut. And then bringing in some water and a watercolour brush, I'm going to wet the back of the tissue paper. Make sure that you've put enough water on there just so it soaks through and lets that dye seep out of the tissue paper. As you can see there, you can see some of the dye on my glass mat, and I'm using the different widths of strips. I'm not really putting them on extremely neat. You just want to put them down and make sure that they're wet enough that the dye will run out. And you can do it really randomly. You can put 2 of the same size strips together. You can put a thicker one, a thinner one, a little bit like I've done there. And then once you've got them all on, you just want to put that to one side and leave it to dry for about maybe half a day. You'll kind of know when the strips are ready to come off because they'll look like they're really easy to peel off and they'll be falling if someone wafts some air around. Then once I've done that, I've cut out a piece of glitter card using the rectangle nesting dies, and I've cut the centre out of it because I'm a little bit of a frugal crafter and I'll use that glitter card on another project. I'm going to go ahead and stick some double-sided tape to the back of there just to stick it to my 5x7 card blank. As for the watercolour tissue paper background, the longer you leave that tissue paper on there to dry, the deeper the colour will be. But if you take it off sooner, you'll get a really light opacity kind of background. So it's totally up to you when you take those strips off. But make sure that it's fully dry before you start inking on it or you're popping it onto your card. So I've just gone ahead and stuck my glitter card onto my card bank there. And then once my strips are just about dry and they're at the colour that I want them to be at, I'm just peeling them off there, and as you can see, that has left a really cool dyed background. Mine isn't fully dry yet, so I'm just going to waft it off with a heat gun, and then I'm going to be stamping in the background using our ice cream treat stamp, which hopefully you have already got. And I'm going to use some super fine gold embossing powder, which creates a beautiful metallic-y kind of effect, which I love. But you've got to make sure that your background is fully dry before you start stamping on it, or the embossing powder will stick to it and it'll create like a mottled effect. So just give it a waft off with a heat gun if you're not quite sure if it's fully dry. So now that that's dry, I'm just going to bring in the embossing pad, and I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I'm going to pop that gold embossing powder on the top. I'm going to be stamping off the edge with this stamp rather than stamping the full stamp onto the card. I want to create like a off-centered random effect for the background, as you can see there. So I won't always be using the top of the ice cream. I'll be also using the cone on some parts, which you'll see later in this video. So just go ahead there, heat that all up. I'm just going to ink up again, and then on the opposite side I'm going to stamp it back on, but put it in a kind of different position. So there's more of the ice cream on this side than there was on the other. Make it really random. And just make sure when you're heating up the embossing powder that you've got every bit. You don't want it smudging off later in the day and it ruining the background. Right, and as you can see, I've already gone ahead and I've stamped up more of that background. I thought it'd be a bit boring for you to watch me do the entire thing. And as I was saying before, I've stamped just some of the cone onto the background rather than the ice cream top at the bit at the top. And once I've finished doing that, I'm just going to ink around the edges with the embossing pad. This will create kind of a rough textured sandy kind of look, which I was really going for because it's a summery ice cream card. And I'm going to pop some of the more of that gold embossing powder on there just to give it a little bit of extra shine and a little bit of more metallic on it. But you can really see that gold reflecting in the light from the embossing powder, which I really, really love. It's one of my favourite embossing powders to use. That and the silver metallic one. So it's really random, just ink it up as much as you can around the edge. I hate leaving card with an unfinished edge. I'll always either pop a little bit of glitter on or maybe edge it with a pen or edge it with some embossing powder, but this is a really cool technique if you're looking for maybe a rougher finish on your card rather than a really slick, smooth finish. And you'll probably be able to see there that metallic embossing powder just changing and giving that shine. And I'm just going to continue all the way around the card, heating that up, making sure every bit's melted. And then once you've finished heating up all that embossing powder, pop some double-sided sticky tape on the back. And then you're going to stick that to the glitter card that you've already previously put on your card blank. I also put a bit of dries clear glue on the back just to give it that extra stick, especially against glitter card, because that can be super difficult to glue things onto. And you want to make sure that you've got a really strong stick against the two. And look at that shine on that card, isn't it beautiful? I'm just going ahead there, peeling the backs off my double-sided sticky tape. I've put a little bit extra in the middle just to give it that little bit of extra grip against the card. And then just pop that into the centre so you've got a nice bit of glitter all the way around your stamped background. Then once you've finished doing that, I'm going to bring in some pre-stamped and pre-coloured ice creams. Now if you want to know how to colour in these ice creams, I've got a video for that and I will post a link in the description below. I've used pro markers and coloured pencils to create the effect on these ice creams, and then I've gone ahead and I've put some foam pads on the back, and I'll just put a dab of dries clear glue on the back of there as well, just to give it that little bit of extra stick onto the card. Pop that to one side, and then with the other one I've put some more foam pads on, but you will see that one side of the ice cream I haven't put any foam pads on. That's because that side is going to stick on top of the previous ice cream that you've already popped on your card. I'll just put a little bit of dries clear glue there and then lay that over the top. So one will be slightly higher than the other one, just so it's offset. Make sure they're nicely stuck down. It's already coming together lovely. I'm going to bring in some iridescent sequins and I'm just going to randomly pop them in the background. And I'll probably fill it up far too much, but who doesn't love a little bit of sparkle on a card? And I'm not even sure where I got these sequins from. They just randomly appeared in my craft stash and I must have bought them somewhere and totally forgot about them, put them away. But I've noticed that sequins seem to come back in at the moment in card making, so once I came across them and I discovered them, I've started putting them on nearly all my card making projects recently. They're just a great little addition, aren't they? And I think I'm about done there. Yeah. So I've just gone ahead and I've die cut a hexagon shape in black, and this is going to be where I stamp my sentiment, which is have a cool birthday, which is also on the ice cream treat stamp set. Inking it up with the embossing pad, and I'm going to sprinkle some more of that golden metallic embossing powder onto there. And I just love the gold against black. It gives a really, really nice shine. It really stands out. So just tap your excess off there, and then heat that sentiment up. I'd use some tweezers as well. You don't want to burn your hands when you're heating that up. And you can really see the shine against the black. Once that's all heated up, you want to pop some foam pads on the back, and I'll place that just at the bottom of the ice cream cones. Again, using far too many foam pads, but that's me all over. I hate anything that sinks, so always with the foam pads. And there we go, just pop that at the bottom. And that's your finished card. Oh no, I'm just going to pop another sequin on there because you can't have enough sequins. And there we go, that's the finished card. Isn't that lovely? And you can really see that shine with the gold. And it'd be perfect for an invitation card if you didn't want to use it for a birthday card. So thanks for watching.